everyone. I was 21, a young girl fresh out of college with BCA degree in my hand, naive but very, very curious about life. I wanted to do something meaningful with my life, but what that something was, I hadn't figured it out yet. I owe it a lot to my mother, who was an incredibly intelligent woman, but because of family requirements and limited choices, became a homemaker. But she did give us the strongest foundation which any child could ask for. She told me, I remember her voice very, very clearly. Gudiya, yeah, that's what she used to call me. Beta, apne पैरों पे खड़े होना. Be financially independent. Do something with your life. That word, something again. Anyways, I decided I'll do something. At least I'll do something. I started looking. Those days, there was no social media. There was no LinkedIn or job alerts. It was good old employment newspaper or maybe newspaper ads and the most trustworthy, the legwork. So with all these traditional means, I started looking and I did land a good job. I landed a job at an institute as head of IT and training. Yes, you heard it right. In my first job, fresh out of college, I was heading IT and training. What the job entailed, I had no clue. But with all my confidence and belief, I took my first steps. Then one fine day, actually if you look at it, I was in my hometown. I was, the job paid me decently well. I had access to home cooked meal. What else I could ask for? I was pretty happy. Life seemed set. Until one day, something very interesting happened. As part of my job, I was training these retired military officers. All men above 50, lot of military stories and full of discipline. One day, out of my sheer curiosity, I asked one of them, "Sir, why aren't there any women in these courses? Can't women join military too?" And trust me, that one question opened some doors for me which I never knew even existed. Now these students of mine, proud veterans, they started helping me. Somebody used to bring a newspaper clipping, somebody brought recruitment form, somebody connected me to a training center. In fact, few of them personally coached me. And 1 year later, I was standing at the gates of Indian Naval Academy, Goa, to begin my military training. That day, something struck me, that the possibility is not in what you see. Sometimes it is about what you dare to ask. And that day, that girl Gudiya was ready to become an officer in the Indian Navy. The training was definitely not easy. The sessions were very grueling. During those training, I learned a lot of things, such as how to stay calm and composed during the fiercest of the storms, how to take wise decisions under pressure, and the most important one, always look forward and keep moving, despite whatever be the circumstances. I was ready. I was ready, full of josh, to join, to serve the country. And guess what? My first appointment landed me in the Central Pay Office of the Navy with a mission, an Oracle-based system, and I had to ensure that all 75,000 personnel of the Navy get their salaries correctly and on time. I was little disappointed. This is not what I imagined myself to be doing in the Navy. I wanted to be at high seas. I wanted to serve the country. I wanted to be a hero. But here I was, not so adventurous, a desk job. But slowly, slowly my perspective changed. I realized that the work which I was doing on that desk, on that system, was having a much greater impact because it allowed the person who was deployed at sea a kind of a financial stability, a kind of a mental peace that yes, even if I'm there, the money will reach to my family. A small, thank you or a warm smile from some sailor or from a family member really changed my perspective. And another lesson which I learned, that the glory or the real purpose is not in the title. It's the impact which that job creates. No matter what the job is, it could be small, it could be very, very non-glamorous, but the impact it creates really drives you, it gives you a new perspective in your life. But while sitting on that desk, I also got some good insights into how the system works. While the armed forces opened doors for women officers, but they quietly kept few doors locked. While we had access to some short-term success, but there was a very, very thin invisible line which did not allow us to have a career, long-term career or leadership opportunities. And that's when the question came, what next? And few brave women decided to challenge the status quo. I'm very proud to be one of them. So me, my fellow women officers, some seniors, some juniors, we filed a petition that women should be given permanent commission and should be treated at par with men. It took some time. After years of legal battles, after years of uncertainties, or I would say failures, finally the landmark judgment was given by the Supreme Court of India in 2020. The women were granted permanent commission. During these days when the legal battle was on, there were a lot of challenges because it's not easy to fight the system when you're part of it. You would have different issues. It's a very difficult scenario because there is no clarity as to what is going to happen to you the very next day. But the good part is that when this thing happened, I was the only one from my batch of women officers who got selected for the permanent commission. I was just doing my job in the last 15, 18 years, one assignment at a time, giving it my all every time. And then I realized that life is made up of these small episodes. And if you give your best to each one of them, the overall picture looks pretty incredible. And here I was. My next posting, on board a warship. Yes, my dream to serve on board ship, to be at the border or to safeguard the country from the front had finally come true. When I stepped first time on that warship, I was reminded of my younger self when I used to dream about being on a warship. Like I explained, there were multiple hurdles, there were multiple roadblocks in the last 15, 18 years. But there is one constant thing which remained with me. I never stopped dreaming. That thought, that feeling that I will do it one day, maybe I will go to that warship one day, never died down. And my belief in the power of visualization became even stronger. So if you visualize something, the dreams or whatever, they take time, but even the long forgotten ones, they may come true. So never stop dreaming. But the courage to step in those spaces did not come overnight. It was built over the last 16, 17, 18 years, one assignment at a time, from one daring moment to another daring moment. And one such daring moment came in my life when I decided to do something really wild, and maybe push myself out of my comfort zone. I signed up for skydiving. I still remember that day of morning of February 2007. I was walking towards that aircraft, the rotors were, that sound of the rotors, if anybody had heard, you can, it was very, very deafening. I was in my dangris, I had worn my helmet, my goggles, parachute strapped, walking towards that aircraft. The aircraft lifted off. Somewhere at 6,000 feet, the instructor opened the door, and the wind came gushing in. I stood at the edge, not only of that aircraft, but of my own fears. And thousands of thoughts came rushing in. Am I crazy? Why should I jump out of a perfectly functional aircraft? In what sound mind I should be doing this? What if I get hurt? What if my parachute doesn't open? What if I'm not able to steer it well? But then I reminded myself that I'm here for a reason. Even if I'm scared, do it scared. And I jumped. I still remember my first jump. I felt like a bird. I really felt like a bird. And the feeling, I can't even express in words because that feeling is so close to my heart. I landed perfectly. Second jump, again, exceedingly well. Unfortunately, on my third jump, I had a very, very bad fall. I fell from somewhere here, 11 feet, 12 feet. I fell like this on the hard concrete surface, and I hit my tailbone. It was a bad accident. Doctors said weeks of rest. I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't lie down without discomfort, which meant that my course was over. I will come back without my para badge or without my certificate. But I was not ready for it. So in that situation, what do? I gave myself few days. I focused on healing. I focused on rebuilding my strength and courage. And on the third day, I went to my instructor and I said, I had pain. Yes, I had pain. I managed it. I went to my instructor and I said, sir, I'm ready to jump. He looked at me with amazement and with a lot of concern. But pain or not, I wanted to do that. And I did my 6 jumps, including 1 assisted free fall from 10,000 feet, and earned my para badge. I earned my para badge, which I wore till the last day. That experience, that skydiving experience, left a very important lesson with me, that when the odds are against you, when the fear and failure is in front of you, take a pause, maybe take a step back, breathe, reset, and leap anyway. Because what lies beyond that fear, maybe it is the most beautiful version of yourself. And I'm very happy that I did that at that particular moment. So whether you are jumping out of an aircraft, or you are managing or leading an operation at high seas, the question is not really, am I ready? The question is, which invisible door I need to open, and how do I make sure that I walk towards them fearlessly? The similar question came back to me after 20 years of my service. I had everything, from jumping from the aircraft, skydiving, to deep sea diving. I had developed complex IT systems. I had led platoons. I had from heading defense procurement in the remotest of the islands to managing or leading logistic operations at high seas, from all kind of bike rallies to everything I had done. And my service had given me a lot of such moments which have shaped me to what I am today. With permanent commission in my hand, I could easily retire at 56 years of age and move out with a pension. What else? Like I said earlier, the life seemed set. But that voice came back to me with that question, what next? This time, it was not about any challenging assignment or these daring acts. It was more about what next. It was more about how do I reinvent myself? How do I reimagine myself? So I decided to trade my boots for heels. I decided to trade my uniform for business suits. I felt somewhat ready to spread my wings, to explore new horizons, to really experience new things beyond uniform, to step into spaces which I had never seen before. It was not really about leaving something behind. It was more about adding something new, adding that new experience and new perspective to my life. So I took that plunge. But there were a lot of uncertainties at that time, because when you have lived as a military officer for 20 years, that becomes your identity. And suddenly, once I step out, I lose that identity. I lose that word commander in front of me. I become just Shivani. So who am I now? How do I make my place at this juncture of my life? But I leaped anyway. And today, I stand in front of you, not only as a veteran, but as a corporate leader who's heading global operations for a multinational company. Trust me, the journey was not easy, but the only thing which stayed with me is that life is not like an improv. There's no script. You don't get to rehearse. But when you embrace the mindset of, yes, I can and I will. If you take away anything from my story, let it be these 4 or 5 things. First, reinvention is not a one-time event. It's a mindset. It has to stay with you. You have to grow it. Possibility often appears only after you take your first steps. In moments of uncertainties, take a pause. Maybe take a step back. Breathe. Reset and rise again. And don't fear those invisible doors. Walk towards them fiercely. And the most important one, when the world gets heavy, when fear shows up again, please say it with me. Yes, I can and I will. Thank you very much.